Shana Tova. When I think of Beth Yeshurun, I think of that train. I can hear it from my office, you know. It has made me late to school pickup often. And I have lost count of how many frantic parents have texted me, "I know we're late for the Bar Mitzvah Devar Torah meeting. We're stuck waiting for the train." When I think of Beth Yeshurun, I think of that train. But more than the noise and more than the inconvenience, did you know that trains are heavy? Yeah, right, they're really heavy. Obviously you knew that, everyone knows that, but did you know that that's why there's rocks under the tracks? This was news to me, I literally just learned this. The rocks under the train tracks are called ballast. It's train ballast is the technical term. And it is there very purposefully, because if the train tracks just sat smack on the ground, on top of the earth, they would sink, because the train is so heavy, and the earth is made up of, well, dirt. So if you've got a train, especially, a massive freight train, let's say, thousands of tons, tens of thousands of tons, roaring at full speed, the vibrations plus the weight, it would just sink. So trains, and this is everywhere, this is all over the world, all over America, and right outside our door, they have thick layers of rocks under the tracks and extending down the sides to provide stability. Now, you can't just use any kind of rocks, though. Not because of size, you actually kind of want little ones, but in terms of shape. Because if you used round, smooth rocks, think of the ones in your aquarium, no rough edges, it wouldn't work. The vibrations of the passing trains would make them scatter. Their beautiful, smooth sameness would make them bounce off each other, making it quite useless, since their job is to stay put and stay together under the train tracks. No, what you need for a job like that are hundreds, actually thousands of pounds of irregular rocks, all sharp, jagged edges, no two of them the same. Because they found, like the 1800s, they found that when the train goes over the tracks with a layer of irregular ballast under, the vibrations actually cause those rocks not to bounce away from each other, but instead they vibrate towards each other. They kind of lock together. All those sharp, jagged little rocks with a big job of sustaining that crushing weight of thousands of tons of train above them, and they just jitterbug into place with their buddies. I hope, that we are like that. If we were all little carbon copies of each other, perfect little Jews, all look the same, talk the same, thought the same, it wouldn't just be boring. None of this would work. Our strength is in our diversity, and that's not, it's not just a trite expression. It's true. You can't weave a tapestry with just one kind of stitch. You'll just have a pile of yarn. And you can't weave a community with just one kind of person. Because when we complement and challenge each other, it strengthens the whole community. Barzel bavarzel, iron sharpens iron. That's what they teach in Proverbs. It's an ancient Jewish text. As a person sharpens the wit of their fellow, just like iron sharpens iron. Now, I know this all sounds so obvious, but I actually think we're headed towards a singularly dangerous time. Not here at Beth Yeshurun specifically. I think it's actually everywhere. I think it's the world. I think we are barreling in a runaway train, to extend the metaphor, full speed toward is a time of very intense homogeneity, where divergence and difference is increasingly unpopular, where we just want to see what's different from us as not just being different, but wrong. Our society, but actually all societies right now, I think are moving to regard those who think different or love different or look different or believe different as undesirable and so unacceptable. And that's sad, and it's perilous, and it is so not Jewish. 2,000 years ago, the ancient rabbis taught in the Talmud, Adam tove'a kama matba'ot bechotam echad. A person stamps several coins with one seal, kulan domin ze lazeh, and they all are similar to each other. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tava kol adam bechotamo shel adam. But God stamps every person with one stamp, a people stamp, if you will. But the rabbis teach, ein echad mehem domeh lechavero. Despite that, not one of them is similar to the other. That, the rabbis teach, is God's immense power to have created us all, not to be the same, but to be wildly and beautifully different. I think we are living in an age now where people are more uncomfortable with differences than ever, at least ever before in many of our lifetimes. There's a growing push, I fear, in so many ways to make us all be similar, similarly looking, similarly thinking, similarly believing. In some ways, it might seem innocuous, like in how we look, but it's still kind of insidious. I'm not talking about fashions. That's normal. People from time immemorial have been dressing like each other. I don't mean that. I mean how now, in an age of AI and filters and fillers, it's warped our perspective a little, our collective obsession with perfection. Nary a pore can be seen in a photo these days, guys. We have a collective fear of aging and looking like you're aging. And it starts for all of us when we're teens, still growing out of childhood. And this fear drives a whole industry built to sell us the same face, same hair, same body, built to make us fear who we are as individuals, natural, our ethnic features even. So we buy the cream or do the procedure, smooth away all our differences into a glossy sameness because we're taught from childhood that that's the ideal. But what it is intolerance of the divergent. There are other intolerances that are far more deadly. Like society's growing intolerance in terms of differences of identity, whether race, gender, sexuality, religion. In so many ways, I think our world is shrinking, and it's pressuring those who don't fit in the mold. How many spaces are less friendly towards Jews today than before October 7th? 300% increase in anti-Semitic incidents. That's how bad. This morning, after I'd written this sermon, there was another anti-Semitic attack in London. Jews attacked, leaving shul on Yom Kippur. As far as I know, 2 dead. How many injured? A car ramming and a stabbing. And is it any wonder some of us tuck our Star of David into our shirt to prevent being attacked verbally or physically? We are living in an age also where people are growing disturbingly uncomfortable with divergence of opinion, especially political opinion. Oh no, she's going there. I am. But how can you not? It makes it so we can't even talk to each other, because how can a person talk to someone they don't see as their equal? So we all kind of cloister up and carve out little echo chambers because we don't dare venture out, lest we be attacked for not being the correct opinion. And all of this means we end up hiding or changing aspects of ourselves, our appearance, our identity, our beliefs, in order to fit into this mold of sameness. But that is antithetical to how we were created. It runs counter to the divine plan. Literally, the next line in that coin story I told you, the rabbi saw God as the coin maker who has one stamp and all the coins, the people turn out different. The rabbis continue that story. The very next line, "Lefikach kol echad ve'echad chayav le'omer." That's the reason you are obligated to remind yourself, "Bishvili nivra ha'olam." We each of us say to ourselves, me and my uniqueness, it is for my sake that the world was created. Which means the world is big enough for all of us. It was made to be this way. And so the world is not served by you hiding all the parts of yourself, who you are, not being your biggest, boldest self, not sharing your beliefs and your opinions. In fact, I would argue that in a world that is increasingly homogenous, that it is more imperative than ever for each of us, for each of you, to be and think and speak as boldly yourselves. I know this is a big ask. I'm not unaware of that. I try to practice what I am preaching to you literally now. It's not always easy. In fact, a few weeks ago, I lost track of time, I gave a sermon. Now, obviously, I do this professionally. I write, I speak professionally. And at this point, 8 years along, I feel fairly confident. On a regular Shabbat, I feel okay. Usually, I do. This one particular Shabbat, I was actually a tad nervous. Because in this particular sermon, I poured a lot of me into it. I was talking about very real issues, pulling no punches. I did it in a funny way. I was nice. But it was very real, and it was very me, and who I felt like needed to be on the outside. And even then, after 8 years, this is one of those times I was a little nervous. Nervous to declare my thoughts, my beliefs so publicly. Not because I was worried about people not getting it. Not because I was worried, what if they didn't think it was important? It was, what if they not just disagree, but vehemently disagree? What if people hate me for what I'm going to say? And afterward, a woman came up to me. Don't think she's here. And she said something I'd actually never heard before. She said, "You say what other people are thinking. You're so brave." Moi? I was speechless. I wanted to say, "Ma'am, no, I am not that thing you just said. I am petrified to do that." But maybe that's why the Rambam taught, almost 1,000 years ago, Haya harvacha maskilim et ometz lev. Ease, the Rambam says, destroys bravery. Ease destroys bravery. And I think that's so true. Because it's not hard when what you think, what you look like, who you are, what you believe is palatable, when it's normative, when it's mainstream. It's not hard at those times, in those cases, to be who you are and say what you think. When you know you will be unchallenged, speak or don't. Be loud or quiet in your identity. Either way, no repercussions, no blowback. It's easy, when it's easy, to be complacent. We lose experience in ometz lev, the Rambam called it, courage of the heart, in those times, because you don't need it. But it's precisely the difficult times when we think, when what we think, when what we believe, when who we are dares to fly in the face of the norm, in the face of the box the world tries to push us into. That is when it is most important to live who we are out loud. That takes courage. And like most things that takes courage, that is when it is most necessary. Because it doesn't take courage for, say, some Western celebrity to wear a bloody hand pin to an award show, swan down the red carpet and bleat about genocide against a people they know so little about that they don't even realize they're wearing the wrong color keffiyeh that they accessorized with. It takes courage for a Jewish kid in a majority non-Jewish high school to point out that there were more Jews on this earth in 1939 than there are right now. And of course, the death of any innocents ever is a tragedy, but that's what happened to our people in 1939. That was a genocide. That takes courage because that Jewish kid has to stand up against a majority who will accuse and abuse them, their peers, who will weaponize their identity against them, who will dangle social acceptance like a carrot before deploying the stick to get them to toe the line and be like everybody else. If you were in this room, or if you're watching us from home, by dint of that fact, you are probably MOT, member of the tribe. And so a lot of the world will want to make you feel bad about that, will want to make you change that about yourself. But we're all made up of so many parts. I'm sure you have more. What you look like, what you believe, what you think. I'm sure there are other parts of you at times you feel like you need to quash or shush or even wholesale change. But there is a reason the rabbis teach in the Talmud that the tabernacle that contained the tablets, the holy tablets of Torah, that box needed to be plated in gold on the outside and the inside. Why? You can't see the inside. It's always been sealed. Well, they said it wasn't about a tabernacle at all. They said a person who is not toho, kivaro, a person who is not the same inside as they are out, that's a person who is lacking. Because God needs you, we need you, and frankly, you need you too to be your fullest, biggest, and most beautiful self. Will people hate you for what you can do or what you can't do, for what you look like or don't look like, what you have or don't have, or who you love, or what you believe or you don't believe? Will people hate you for that? Probably, yes, some will. I've been accused in my sermons of being both, too left and too right, which I think means I'm doing something right. But the cost of not saying what you believe and being who you are is a cost that's actually too high to bear, as scary as it is, even now. It's something I myself still work on to this day, because I know that God and our people need me as much as God and our people need you too. In a world that is pushing us more and more towards a mindless conformity, away from our inborn uniqueness and our beautiful, different, developed beliefs. Remember, it is our differences that strengthen us as a collective. Like ballast under the train tracks, under pressure from the outside, we need all of us, all of our rough edges, all the ways we complement and sharpen each other. It is only when we come together, all of our rough edges and all, it's then we can bear the weight of the world. May this Yom Kippur seal for you a year of trying to bring your full and complete self to the fore, who you are, jagged edges and all. Bless all of us with your completeness of self. May you be signed and sealed for a year of living as your truest and fullest self. Gmar Chatima Tova.